The night of September 16, 2025, was dark and unforgiving in the Gulf of Aden. Out here, you're a long way from home, and the sea can be your greatest enemy. On this night, however, a man-made threat was gathering on the horizon. The USNS Guadalupe, a massive naval fuel tanker, sliced through the inky water, its holds brimming with over 8.2 million gallons of JP-5 jet fuel. This vessel was a lifeline for the U.S. Navy, a floating fuel station critical for keeping carrier strike groups operational. But its precious cargo also made it a colossal floating bomb, a target of immense value and immense danger. Every sailor aboard knew that one well-placed shot could turn their ship into a cataclysmic inferno in the blink of an eye. This is the reality of operating in hostile waters. You have to be prepared for the absolute worst. Accompanying the Guadalupe was the USS Laboon, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. This warship was the tanker's guardian, a sheepdog watching over a very valuable member of the flock. Its crew was a finely tuned machine, trained for exactly this kind of scenario. They were the first line of defense against any predator that might emerge from the Somali coast. The atmosphere on the Laboon's bridge was one of quiet vigilance. Under my command, sailors scanned their instruments, their eyes tracing the lines on radar screens that painted a picture of the vast, empty sea around them. In these dangerous shipping lanes, complacency is a killer. Every blip, every shadow, every unexpected signal must be treated as a potential threat until proven otherwise. Suddenly, the calm was shattered. A watch officer on the USS Laboon leaned closer to his radar console, his brow furrowed in concentration. It wasn't just one blip anymore. A cluster of small, fast-moving contacts had appeared, emerging from the direction of the Somali coastline, 120 nautical miles away. There were dozens of them, moving in a coordinated pattern at incredible speed. This was no fishing fleet, this was a pack of wolves closing in. I was alerted immediately, and the ship's general quarters alarm blared through the passageways. The call to battle stations echoed. This was not a drill. Every sailor knew their role, every muscle memory honed by countless hours of training kicking into gear. The approaching force was a pirate armada, the likes of which hadn't been seen in decades. Intelligence would later reveal this was the work of Khalid Qadr Abd al-Rahman, a ruthless warlord who had transformed piracy into a paramilitary operation. He had assembled a force of over 250 fighters spread across 30 high-speed skiffs. These were not desperate men with rusty rifles, they were a disciplined assault force armed to the teeth with Media Group AK-47s and PKM machine guns in hands of pirates, shoulder-fired RPG-7s with fighters, pirates displaying weapons a stock would distribute equally, AK-47s, PKM machine guns, and shoulder-fired RPG-7s. Their plan was audacious and deadly: overwhelm the destroyer's defenses, board the tanker, and seize the ultimate prize. On the Laboon, sailors armed themselves and manned their gun stations, the steel ship coming alive with a sense of deadly purpose. The pirate skiffs raced across the water at nearly 40 knots, their engines roaring in defiance of the night's silence. They closed the distance with terrifying speed, a swarm of hornets intent on their target. On the bridge of the USS Laboon, I watched the contacts converge on the USNS Guadalupe. I knew the pirates' strategy was to use their numbers and speed to create chaos, hoping to land a disabling blow on the tanker before the destroyer could eliminate them all. The tension was immense. My ship was powerful, but it was one ship against 30. The pirates had the advantage of surprise and a fanatical willingness to press the attack, no matter the cost. They were gambling everything on this one massive assault. At 4:20 a.m., the night exploded in a flash of fire and thunder. The pirates were now in range and opened up with everything they had. The distinctive whoosh of RPGs cut through the air, their fiery trails streaking toward the American vessels. One rocket found its mark, slamming into the stern of the USNS Guadalupe. The impact sent a shudder through the giant vessel and ignited a fire, its flames licking hungrily at the steel deck. On board the tanker, damage control teams sprang into action, their training taking over as they raced to extinguish the blaze. They were fighting not just a fire, but the terrifying possibility of a chain reaction that could detonate the 8.2 million gallons of fuel below their feet, an explosion that would be equivalent to 30,000 pounds of TNT. The pirates weren't just focused on the tanker. Another RPG screamed through the air, aimed directly at the heart of the USS Laboon, its bridge. The rocket missed its target by a mere 8 feet, a testament to sheer luck in the chaos of battle. It didn't score a direct hit, but it slammed into the reinforced window, which shattered, sending a spray of glass and shrapnel flying across the command center. 4 sailors were hit, their faces and arms cut by the flying debris, but they stayed at their posts, their resolve unbroken. This was the moment where training and grit make all the difference. In a firefight, you don't have time for fear. You have to rely on your instincts and your teammates to see you through. The air was thick with the smell of cordite and diesel fumes, a chaotic symphony of machine gun fire and explosions. The pirates were relentless, pouring a torrent of bullets at the two Navy ships. They were throwing caution to the wind, determined to cripple the American response and seize their prize. On the deck of the Laboon, another RPG found its mark, exploding near a gun mount. The blast wave and intense heat engulfed two sailors, inflicting severe burns. Yet even as their comrades fell, the remaining gunners never faltered. They knew the lives of everyone on both ships depended on their ability to stand their ground and fight back against the overwhelming tide of the pirate swarm. Faced with a ferocious and determined enemy, the U.S. Navy's response was swift, professional, and utterly devastating. On the USS Laboon, I gave the order to engage, and the destroyer's .50 caliber heavy machine guns roared to life. These weapons are absolute beasts, capable of tearing through the light hulls of the pirate skiffs with ease. Tracers lit up the night, creating fiery lines that connected the American warship to the attacking boats. Each burst from the .50 cals sent a storm of heavy rounds into the pirate formation, ripping apart engines, splintering fiberglass, and silencing the guns of the attackers. This wasn't a battle of equals, this was a clash between a modern war machine and a swarm of lightly armored boats. The odds improved dramatically as help arrived. The USS Cape St. George, a Ticonderoga-class cruiser that had been patrolling just 5 nautical miles away, steamed into the fight at full speed. Its arrival was a game-changer. The cruiser was armed with the Phalanx CIWS, a weapon system known as the Sea Whiz. It's essentially a massive radar-guided Gatling gun designed to shoot down incoming missiles, but it's just as effective against surface targets. In the first 10 minutes of the engagement, the Cape St. George's CIWS unleashed a biblical storm of 20mm rounds, firing an incredible 4,500 shells. The sound was like a continuous, deafening roar as the weapon sprayed a wall of lead at the pirate fleet. The effect of this combined firepower was catastrophic for the pirates. Skiffs that had been racing confidently toward the tanker were suddenly obliterated, disappearing in flashes of light and plumes of water. The high-explosive rounds from the Phalanx CIWS turned the small boats into confetti, while the .50 cal slugs chewed through their hulls and engines. Within 30 minutes, the coordinated pirate swarm was in disarray. 9 of their skiffs were sunk or disabled, burning wrecks left drifting in the Laboon's wake. The initial wave of the attack had been broken, but at a high cost to the attackers. At least 70 pirates were now dead or wounded, their audacious plan unraveling under the crushing weight of American naval power. Despite the heavy losses, the danger was far from over. The sailors on the USNS Guadalupe had managed to extinguish the fire on the stern, a heroic feat of damage control that prevented a catastrophic explosion. They had stared into the face of disaster and won. But out on the water, more than 180 pirates in the remaining 21 skiffs were still fighting. They regrouped, continuing to fire relentlessly, their desperation making them even more unpredictable. They had fired over 70,000 rounds in under an hour. I knew that while I had blunted the attack, I was in a battle of attrition. The pirates still had numbers on their side, and my sailors were not invincible. It was time to call for bigger guns. With the battle still raging and the pirates just refusing to back down, I made a crucial decision. I radioed for reinforcements from Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti, which is, by the way, the only permanent United States military base in Africa, located about 800 miles away. This call set off a massive and rapid response, really showcasing the incredible reach and power of the American military. The first asset to arrive on the scene was an MQ-9 Reaper drone. Silently gliding high above the chaos, that drone became our eye in the sky. Its advanced sensors provided crystal-clear, real-time video of the entire battle space, allowing me to track every move the remaining pirate skiffs made. That intelligence was absolutely vital, turning a chaotic firefight into, well, a calculated game of chess. The drone's surveillance painted a chilling picture. While the USS Laboon and USS Cape St. George had decimated the initial assault, the surviving pirates were not fleeing. They were regrouping, communicating, and getting ready for another wave of attacks. But the Reaper's mission didn't stop at the immediate battle. Following the pirates' retreat path, it flew deep into Somali territory, hunting for their base of operations. Near the coastal village of Bawe, it found the jackpot, a heavily fortified compound. The drone's cameras revealed warehouses packed with stolen cargo, dozens of skiffs hidden under camouflage netting, and a massive stockpile of weapons and fuel. This was the heart of the snake, the source of Khalid Qadar Abd al-Rahman's power. The discovery of the pirate stronghold shifted the entire dynamic of the operation. This wasn't just about defending a tanker anymore, it was about eliminating a major threat to international shipping. The mission evolved from defense to offense. A plan was quickly put together for a land-based counterattack. While the warships kept the pirates at bay, an elite force would be sent in to strike the compound and dismantle the warlords' operation from the inside. This is modern warfare, folks. A seamless integration of naval power, aerial surveillance, and special operations, all working together to achieve a decisive objective. The pirates had picked a fight, and now the full might of the United States military was about to be brought down upon them. As the sun began to rise, the cavalry arrived. 3 massive CH-47 Chinook helicopters thundered over the horizon, each carrying 120 elite U.S. Navy SEALs. These warriors were equipped for a full-scale assault, armed with night vision gear, laser-guided rifles, and explosives. They were a force designed to operate deep behind enemy lines and dismantle an enemy's command and control. Accompanying them were 3 AH-64E Apache attack helicopters, the most lethal gunships in the world. Each Apache was loaded for bear, carrying 1,200 rounds for its 30mm chain gun, and a full complement of Hellfire missiles. The pirates had brought a swarm of speedboats to a gunfight. The U.S. Navy had responded with a fleet of warships, a squadron of helicopters, and a company of its most elite commandos. The tide had, well and truly, turned. The arrival of the helicopters and the looming threat of a ground assault broke the pirates' will to fight. The remaining skiffs, battered and running low on ammunition, finally turned and fled toward the Somali coast, with the Apaches shadowing them from above. The immediate battle for the USNS Guadalupe was over. The aftermath was a scene of controlled chaos and, honestly, immense relief. On the decks of the USS Laboon and USS Cape St. George, sailors tended to the wounded. 9 American sailors had been injured in the firefight, 2 of them with serious burns. They were heroes, every one of them, having stood their ground in the face of overwhelming odds and incredible danger. Their bravery had ensured that not a single pirate set foot on the tanker. The real triumph of the night, though, was the prevention of a catastrophic explosion. The damage control teams aboard the USNS Guadalupe performed their duties with textbook precision and incredible courage. By extinguishing the fire on the stern while under constant enemy attack, they saved not only their own ship and crew, but also the accompanying destroyer from a blast that would have vaporized everything within a half-mile radius. It was a testament to the rigorous training that every U.S. Navy sailor endures. In the heat of the moment, when survival is on the line, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training. And their training was, without a doubt, world-class. The engagement in the Gulf of Aden was a powerful demonstration of modern naval warfare. It highlighted the critical importance of teamwork, not just within a single crew, but across multiple assets. The seamless coordination between the USS Laboon, the USS Cape St. George, the Reaper drone, and the incoming Special Operations Forces was what turned a potential disaster into a decisive victory. Each element played its part perfectly, from the radar operator who first spotted the threat to the pilots and SEALs who were preparing to take the fight to the enemy's doorstep. It showed that individual courage, when combined with superior technology and a clear strategy, is an unstoppable force. Ultimately, this epic showdown was a story of resolve against a